and social slime, they don't matter, genocide. Sick from water, sick from air, making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air, fuck them back, it's only for they bomb. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape, they burn the kids. No one makes countries lie to your face, fight and die, 'cause God forgive. Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower class and social side, they don't matter, genocide. Sick from water, sick from air, making money, they don't care. See their shit, force of air, fuck them back, that's only fair. They bomb, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape, they burn the kids. No one makes countries lie to your face, fight and die, 'cause God forgives. Yeah. Coming back around again. Yeah.
Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Ron Stevens. This is Game On right here on UCY.tv. It is the 12th of June, 2016, and I'm your host for the next 2 hours. So I'm going to shout out the phone number here right off the bat today, which is, if you want to call in, the number is 718-717-8296. That's 718-717-8296. Now, the amazing thing about doing these shows is a lot of times I wonder what I'm going to talk about on any given show. And never fails. The media or my research or somebody else's research that sends it to me it doesn't really make it that difficult to get something to talk about. So I see here this morning that we have 50 dead after gunman opens fire in a crowded Orlando gay nightclub. And then it says there's blood everywhere. Now, if I go over to another newspaper, it says 50 dead at Florida gay nightclub. Authorities are investigating the worst mass shooting in U.S. history as an act of terrorism. The suspect was identified as Omar Mateen of Port St. Lucie, Florida. Now, I've only been to 2 news sites, and the stories just look like, copy and paste kind of thing, pretty much. I haven't had time to look into it. I just really getting moving here after doing the late night show last night. Anyways, I'm going to go through this a little bit this morning. We'll start here. This is all about chaos. Out of order comes out of chaos. Out of chaos comes order. Now, they've been working this for decades and decades and decades and decades. You know, when I look back at my life, and I'm 61 now, and I was 10 when John F. Kennedy got shot, and it didn't take me very freaking long to figure out that was a hit. At the age of 10. And I still don't understand how people continually get suckered by the media and the news stories. Now, there was a time, long time ago, when they used to bust gay bars and arrest everybody for lewdness or whatever the charge was. And then they moved it forward to normalize it. Okay? Now, the cops will do whatever they're told. This is the beauty of it, or the ugliness of it, depends how you look at it. When the cops were told to bust the gay bars, they busted the gay bars. And then now we have cops guarding the gay bars because they're told to guard the gay bars, because it's now become normalized. Same thing went on with the liquor game. Same thing went on with the pot game. How many people got thrown in jail? The police were told to bust anybody with even a joint. When I was a young guy, man, they were throwing people in jail for 90 days for a joint and stuff, right? God forbid they should catch you with a pound of weed. Well, you're going away for a long, long time, my friend. Well, now we have the government has normalized to a certain point weed. And now they figured out, just like they did with alcohol, on how their friends, their politicians, their ex-politicians, can all make a fortune at it because you can get licensed to grow this stuff now. Well, wait a minute. The police were busting everybody that even had a joint, but now that they licensed what they said was against the law, but only to certain people, to give them the monopoly on weed. So now the police are guarding the weed growers, the licensed weed growers. And if you don't have a license to grow, they're going to still throw your ass in jail in order to do what? Protect the weed growers. They don't want any competition. So the police, dear police, you got to get your act together, okay? You're puppets. Will you do as you're told? Well, this is what they legislated, so this is what we have to do. Well, how can you take something that was illegal and make it legal all of a sudden? But every time they do this, it has an advantage to their friends. So, you, the police, are basically the thugs, the highwaymen, the insurance guys, just like the mafia. Okay, no different. And so this has been going on a long time, and so you used to bust the gay bathhouses, and now you protect the gay bathhouses. And if I say something bad about a gay person, then I'm likely going to either be pestered or get a ticket or get dragged up in front of the human/animal rights boards and be told I can't say what's on my mind, which is a crock of nonsense. Always say what's on your mind, because if you bow down and don't say what's on your mind, pretty soon you're not allowed to say anything that's on your mind, which is about where we are today. Anyways, back to this story of, well, just before I read this story, okay, understand this. And I'll have to buy a hat because I'm going to say it. I'll eat my hat, which I don't own one of, but I'll go buy one. I'll eat my hat. We'll film it even. And put it up on YouTube. I will eat my hat if Hillary Clinton is not the next president. And because of this shooting, and it says an assault weapon, that should Hillary become president, which I believe she will, because she has all the connections, and there's too many people connected to her. And so, on the last election, it was a toss-up between Obama and Hillary. They decided to give Obama another run at it. There's all decisions made. Your vote doesn't mean jack. I mean, anybody with any sense at all knows that whoever your president is going to be is already selected And you have really no say in it whatsoever. You don't have any say in it because you, the man or woman, do not have the capacity to vote. You know, you are as a proxy for the corporate fiction. That's who votes, not you. You act as an agent of that corporate fiction, so you're really not even involved in the vote. Your fictional character is involved in the vote. You vote on behalf of your fictional character, as an agent of your fictional character. So, you know, we live in a fictional world. Legalism is fiction, it's something of the mind, and they use the jargon of deception. And but everything is an act, everything is a statue, everything is a play. It's all part of a play, it's all fictional, and we're caught up in it. And we got to cut the fiction frickin' loose and get back to some sort of reality here. And until we do that, nothing's going to change. Things are just going to continue to get worse, and they're going to grind you down, and they're going to have the boot on your face the rest of your life. If you like having boots on your face, then just lay down, stay stupid, and don't worry about it, you know. Maybe you'll get a hush puppy on your face instead of a boot, but you're still going to have something on your face, okay? Which they have no authority to do, but we're all caught up in this little fictional world. It's Alice in Wonderland, no different than Alice in Wonderland. So what do we got here? We got somebody that shot 50 gay people or killed 50 gay people at a bar. The guy that supposedly did the shooting sounds like a Muslim who apparently don't like gay people. So what do? We normalize the gay movement. And this is all about getting rid of the King James Bible. Make no bones about this. This is about getting rid of the King James Bible. And you know, when you have the churches hugging the gays, when it says right in the Bible, this is an abomination, you know, the churches are totally players in this game. So we get this all normalized, and then we bring in massive amounts of migrants who apparently don't like gay people, who are running on the Islamic State, which is not the separation of church and state. They were never separated, and therefore they have the right to do whatever they want because of their religion. And so this is the kind of nonsense we run into, but we have a problem. We want to get rid of your guns. We want your guns. Okay, so now they're going to play this up as another terrorist attack. And now Hillary's going to get in, and they're coming for your guns. How far away we are from the next civil war, I'm not sure. I don't want to see it. I don't think anybody else wants to see it. We don't need bloody streets. But the powers that be do. Okay, they want to turn this into a catastrophe, a chaotic situation, and then they can, you know, try to get their boot on your face. And we can't allow that to happen. Anyways, I'm going to run through this story here quick, and if you got any thought processes on this, or you want to discuss it, or you want to call me a conspiracy theorist, fill your boots and phone in. I have no problem with that. Phone number is 718-717-8296. So let's look at this story here. In this particular paper, it says a gunman wielding a assault type rifle. It doesn't say it's assault rifle, it's assault type rifle. And a handgun opened fire inside a crowded Florida nightclub early Sunday, killing at least 50 in the worst mass shooting in American history before dying in a gunfight with SWAT officers, police said. Authorities are investigating as an act of terrorism. Okay, terrorism. We saw all that with Bush and that. Terrorism. You know, we got to keep repeating it. We got to get the propaganda in your head. Terrorism. Authorities were investigating it as an act of terrorism. Terrorism. At least 53 other people were hospitalized, most in critical condition, officials said. I think we will see the death toll rise, said Dr. Mike Cheatham, a trauma surgeon at Orlando Regional Medical Center. Mayor Buddy Dyer said all of the dead were killed with the assault rifle. Now, it's an assault rifle. Up at the start, it was an assault, what did they call it? Assault type of rifle. And now it's not a type, it's definitely an assault rifle. Where the heck am I here? Yes, all right. There's blood everywhere, Dyer said. The suspect exchanged gunfire with an officer working at the gay club known as Pulse around 2 a.m. when more than 300 people were inside. The gunman went back inside and took hostages, Police Chief John Mina said. Around 5 a.m., authorities sent in a SWAT team to rescue the hostages. Well, wait a minute here. Let's see here. At 2 a.m., the suspect exchanged gunfire with an officer working at the gay club known as Pulse. Now it was around 2 a.m. Around 5 a.m., authorities sent in a SWAT team to rescue the hostages. Well, that's 3 freaking hours. In addition to the guns, the shooter had some sort of suspicious device, said the chief. Authorities were looking into whether the attack was an attack of domestic or international terror. Terror. And if the shooter acted alone, according to Danny Banks, an agent with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. This is an incident, as I see it, that we certainly classify as domestic terror incident, Orange County Sheriff Deming said. So we've qualified it wasn't an international terror, it was a domestic terror incident. Well, this is good to know. The suspect was identified as Omar Mateen of Port St. Lucie, Florida. Rep. Alan Grayston named the shooter, citing law enforcement officials. The federal law enforcement official with knowledge of the investigation also confirmed the name. The official was not authorized to discuss the investigation publicly and spoke on condition of anonymity. FBI agent Ron Hopper said there was no further threat to Orlando or surrounding area. When asked if the gunman had a connection to radical Islamic terrorism, Hopper said authorities had suggestions the individual has leaning towards that. Okay, that's a very important statement. When asked if the gunman had a connection with radical Islamic terrorism. Hopper said authorities had suggestions that individual has leanings towards that. Okay? Now, I brought that word up last night. You see it constantly in news stories. And if I can dig that out real quick without looking too hard for it. My computer. I think my computer has a terrorist in it. Okay. Now, I brought this up last night. We'll just go through it again real quick here. Suggestion says a prompting to evil, a hint, a temptation, an addition, a suggestion, bring up, bring under, lay beneath, furnish, afford, supply, prompt, bring, carry, bring forward an idea, meaning proposal, statement, declaration. Okay. Suggest means to place before another's mind. That would be your mind. Put forward a proposition, and so on and so forth. So this is exactly what's going on with if you keep in mind the word suggestion or suggest every time you read a news thing or a scientific paper or whatever the hell it is you're reading in the media, and see how many times a expert suggests, an advisor suggests, science data suggests, okay? Now just remember what suggest means, okay? That's very, very important that you understand that. This is planting ideas in your mind. It's not that it was a terrorist, but suggestions that individual has leanings towards that, which says to the average reader, it was a radical Islamic terrorist. Suggests or suggestions that individual has leaning towards that. So now we get the people all jacked up. That's the point of it, to get you jacked up. Doesn't matter if it's about global warming. It doesn't matter what the hell it's about. Something always suggests, which plants an idea, a seed in your mind, an acceptance that this is what it is. And that's to get people wound up or to accept that this is the reality of what's going on. But remember, it's all an act. It's all a play. Now, did this guy kill 50 people? Apparently. But there's 50 dead people. Somebody went off the deep end and killed 50 people. And that's domestic terrorism. Meantime, the military goes over and, I mean, if you look at the pictures of Syria and that, and Iraq and Afghanistan, these people have been blasted into oblivion. No problem there. Why? Well, we're tracking terrorists. Terrorists. Now we're looking for terrorists, domestic terrorists. Terrorism. Well, how do we stop this terrorism? Well, he had an assault rifle. Well, we got to get all these assault rifles. What do? We better vote in Hillary. She'll get the rifles. All of these things are all connected to one another. Anyways, to carry on with this, police had said previously on Twitter that there was a controlled explosion at the scene of the shooting. Mina said that the noise was caused by a device intended to distract the shooter. I don't know what the hell that was all about. Who set off this explosion and who was attempting to distract the shooter? I have no idea. A woman who was outside the dance club early Sunday was trying to contact her 30-year-old son, Eddie, who texted her when the shooting happened and asked her to call police. He told her he ran into a bathroom with other club patrons to hide. He then texted her, "He's coming." The next text said, "He has us. He's in here with us." And that was the last conversation from Eddie. Dozens of police vehicles swarmed the area around the club. At least 2 police pickup trucks were seen taking what appeared to be shooting victims to the Lander Regional Medical Center. Pulse posted that on its own Facebook page around 2 a.m., everyone get out of Pulse and keep running. Just before 6 a.m., the club posted an update. As soon as we have any information, we will update everyone. Please keep everyone in your prayers as we work through this tragic event. Thank you for your thoughts and love. Now, keep who in what prayers? According to KJV, what's going on at the Pulse is an abomination. But keep us in your prayers. This world is so twisted, it is pathetic. Local, state, and federal agencies were investigating. President Barack Obama was briefed on the attack, and he has asked for regular updates on the investigation, the White House said, as we plan to take their guns. The attack follows the fatal shooting late Friday of 22-year-old singer Christina Grimmie, who was killed after her concert in Orlando by 27-year-old Florida man who later killed himself. And I guess she was it says here, a YouTube sensation and former contestant on The Voice. That I saw that. I didn't look at that particular shooting. Haven't had time. John Elmo said he was at the back of one of the club's rooms when a man holding a weapon came into the front of the room. I heard 20, 40, 50 shots, Elmo said, and the music stopped. Clubgoer Rob Rick said the shooting started just before closing time. Everyone was drinking, having their last sip, he said. He estimated more than 100 people were still inside when he heard shots, got on the ground and crawled toward the DJ booth. Well, way back up here at the beginning of this story, I think it mentions there was 300 people in the club when this thing started to go down. Yes, at 2 a.m. when more than 300 people were inside. We go down the story, and now we have 100 people at 2 a.m. still in the club. So there we have, by the look of this, a 200 difference in the number of people in the club. A bouncer knocked down a partition between the club area and an area in the back where only workers are allowed. People inside were able then to escape through the back of the club. Christopher Henson said he was in the VIP lounge when he heard gunshots. He continued to hear shooting even after he emerged, and police urged people to back away from the club. He saw the wounded being tended to across the street. I was thinking, are you kidding me? So I just dropped down. I just said, please, 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 I want to make it out, he said. And when I did, I saw people shot. I saw blood. You hope and pray you don't get shot. And there's another one praying. There's another one of them praying. But it says in the KGB what they're up to is an abomination. They are an abomination. Who the hell are they praying to? Allah? Apparently not, because Allah's in there shooting the shit out of them. This is how messed up this is. Now, let me see if I can find one more story on this and see if we got anything different going on here. Let's see what we got here. Maybe there's an update somewhere. This is looking pretty. These all look like just cut and paste stories. I don't. But then the media tends to do that, doesn't it? This news thing here says at least 50 dead and another 53 injured in attack at gay nightclub. Death toll expected to rise. Sounds like the same other two stories. Worst shooting in U.S. history. Sounds like the same story. Suspect identified. It was Omar Mateen, a U.S. citizen of Afghan descent. Islamic State Twitter account posts photo purportedly of Mateen identifying him as the killer. The motive, police call this terrorism, but have released few details as they work it out, I suppose. Let's get a story together here. Was the attack motivated by radicalization? Why was the gay nightclub chosen as the target of the violence? Now, I've seen one story this morning, and maybe it does the same thing in here, maybe. There was a story a little bit from the father, I think it was, of the apparent gunman who said that it had something to do with his the guy that did the shooting. His it's not in that story. Where the hell did I see that? I saw a bit of a story here that the part of the problem was that it had to do with the shooters had his kid outside or something during the day or something and saw a couple of guys kissing on the street or something, and then they went to the washroom and there was guys in the washroom kissing and carrying on, and I figured that just threw him and set him off. But I forget where I even saw that. But anyways, whatever happened, and it looks like all the stories to date are pretty much identical that I've run across. Okay, here we go. Reaction. Top U.S. politicians express shock, outrage over Orlando mass killings. The mass shootings in Orlando, Florida have elicited a flurry of comments on Twitter from U.S. politicians expressing shock and outrage. Woke up to hear the devastating news from Florida. The presumptive Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton tweeted Sunday morning, "As we wait for more information, my thoughts are with those affected by this horrific act." Now, I think it was Clinton that was all happy when they finally got Muammar Gaddafi there. She was just in glee. You know, what was that? We went, we found him, we killed him. Hot damn. Right? This is one vicious, evil woman. And but she's all concerned. She ain't the least bit bloody concerned. She's licking her freaking chops. They're all licking their chops. Now we can go get the guns. Okay? This is the worst act of domestic terrorism, or the worst shooting in American history, apparently. And earlier today, somebody said to me, well, wait a minute. Wasn't the Twin Towers coming down a lot bigger mass killing than this? I said, well, yeah, but you're not supposed to know that's an inside job, right? Anyways, who else writes this? Donald Trump weighs in on this. Really bad shooting in Orlando. Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump said in a tweet, police investigating possible terrorism, many people dead and wounded. The White House said President Barack Obama was briefed on the attack at a gay nightclub that has left 50 people dead and another 53 wounded. Our thoughts and prayers again. Prayers. I have a lot of prayers coming out here. Prayers, terrorism, prayers, terrorism, which don't really go together, but you're not supposed to notice that either. Our thoughts and prayers are with the families and loved ones of the victims, White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest said. The Florida Senator and former Republican presidential candidate Marco Rubio tweeted, "Our prayers are with those injured and killed early this morning in a horrifying attack of terror, prayers, terror, prayers, get the guns off the street, terrorism, prayers." See where we're going with this, folks? Order out of chaos. Horrified and saddened by the appalling attack at Orlando LGBT nightclub, New York Senator Chuck Schumer tweeted, praying for the victims of the terrorists. This is about political gain. Now, I've said this many times. I really don't give a damn, and I don't, what anybody's up to. Just don't harm anybody else. And what's happened with the what is it called? LBGT, whatever it's called. Group of people, and I keep saying, is they're being used as a wedge. They're being used to further political movements. Those who brought you front and center, those who constructed your gay pride parades and that, don't give a sweet bejesus about you. Never did, never will. Get that through your heads. You're being used as useful idiots to put wedges into the society, to create chaos, to create strife, and so on and so forth. You know, and then you bring all the migrants in, and now what do you got? You got yourself a real problem on your hands. You have a disintegrating society, and it's only going to get worse if people don't get their head wrapped around what's actually going on. You're being manipulated from every angle possible to destroy each other. And you got to wrap your brain around that at some point. And you got to stand up to it at some point. Now, it may sound as I read this stuff this morning that, or this afternoon, I guess, that I hate all of these people, this LGBTQWXYZ group. I don't. Like I said, I don't give a damn. Just don't put it in my face. All right? Don't put it in my face. So they took you from raiding your bathhouses and that to having you parading down the streets and getting special rules and regulations for your group and throwing what most people don't want to see in their faces. Okay? And, oh boy, the government's going to regulate us, so we're special. No. They don't give a damn about you, just like they don't give a damn about anybody else. Remember, this is a fictional play being played out. Okay? You, the man, woman, regardless of what your so-called sexual orientation may be, are not recognized by the so-called government. The only thing recognized by the government, which is a fictional entity in itself, is the fictional entities they created. So it doesn't matter if you're LGBTQ or you're straight as an arrow. You're all being manipulated. You're all being used. You're all being pointed at one another, even though the so-called government doesn't recognize a damn one of you. They're manipulating and moving around the fictional entities on the board as they play their game out. And who's getting hurt? The flesh and blood men and women is who's getting hurt. But they're amoral. Okay? They live in a fictional world. Your government, your so-called government. They created a fictional world. They live in their fictional world. And whether they kill 50 or 50 million of them, do you ever see one of them with a tear in their eye? Never. Because they don't recognize you. And if they're only playing pieces, what do we care? Just like the good old Monopoly board or any other board game you've ever played. Anyway, so Trump's broke up over this, Hillary's broke up over this, and we're heading towards an election. Hot damn. Hot damn. I would really like to see this be the very first election that no one marks a ballot on behalf of the legal entity, which is your life, because they control that legal entity. I would just like to see a zero vote. I would like everybody not to vote, or not to proxy vote anyways, and then watch the numbers at the election. If nobody votes, they'll still have a bunch of numbers to give you. Just make them up. It's just a game. Director Michael Moore. Trump supports a 21st century version of fascism. Whoa. Whoa. Mikey. Anyways, I also see that, let me go back to the news here. I also see that apparently, that's not in this particular paper, I don't think, somewhere. Executive Director of UN Women Speaks, United Nations Women speaks about Canada's priorities, and that's to put more women in power. We have candidates stepping aside here in Ontario so that women or youth can fill their positions, which is these will be the people coming out of the universities, these mind-bent people, these people who have been completely indoctrinated, stepping into the positions of power. And that is not going to be good either. Activists say airstrikes in northwest Syria kill at least 20. Mm-hmm. This is getting beyond the ridiculous now. But where? I thought they were let's see what else we got here. Okay, let me see what we can dig out of this stuff, the news. I thought it was the Queen's celebrating birthday time or something this week as well. Let me see here if we can find, I don't even want to do this story, but I'm going to have to go look at it. Just bad stories all. Canadian scientists. This is going to be weird, this story, I think. Canadian scientists are unlocking the secrets of your mind-numbing, skull-melting boredom. So these are boredom scientists, I guess. Boredom. We all know it, and for some it's empty. Maybe linked to anxiety, depression, binge eating, and a host of other disorders. But why? Canadian scientists are investigating. The research subjects are asked to watch a video of two men hanging laundry, or another on how to make concrete. They might be asked to transcribe the references from an academic article or take a phone book and cross out every letter A. In all cases, the experiment is seemingly simple to induce boredom. You just want to poke your eyes out, said John Eastwood, a professor of psychology at York University, and as far as I'm concerned, And don't come and arrest me for saying this, Mr. Policeman, but as far as I'm concerned, York University ought to be burnt to the damn ground. Make sure everybody's outside, get some marshmallows, burn the damn thing to the ground. York University, I would put it on an Ontario level with McGill University in Montreal. These are international cult building houses, I guess I would call them. But anyway, John Eastwood, a professor of psychology at York University. For over a century, boredom has been mostly ignored as a topic of sustained research. Boredom, part of the furniture of life, was itself too trivial to investigate, but not anymore. But in recent years, psychologists have begun to probe common thought processes that were once uncommonly studied: nostalgia, daydreaming, mind wandering. In the case of boredom, that research is beginning to sketch the contours of a dynamic mental state, one with a web of associations to other behaviors, both negative and positive. Do you see some new pharmaceuticals coming down the pipe for this? Boredom pills. They may even give you a boredom vaccination. But they care about you. Boredom, of course, is a very complex, multifaceted experience, says Eastwood. The field is in its infancy, he notes, but over the last 15 years, we've come to realize there's something that deserves a closer look. Like others, Eastwood was drawn to boredom in part because the studies that did exist had linked boredom to a whole host of disorders: depression, anxiety, substance abuse, binge eating, etc. People who say they experience a lot of boredom also say they struggle with X, Y, and Z, and yet we know a little about it, Eastwood says. That's really fascinated me. Yet scientists did not have a universal definition of boredom. It did not have validated ways to manipulate and measure it experimentally. To ensure the research subjects were actually feeling something everyone could agree was crushing, mind-numbing boredom, and how much. A consensus, a good old consensus, got to have a consensus. We don't actually want factual data, okay? We don't look for factual data, be it in vaccination deaths or global warming or anything. We only look, as scientists, we only look for a consensus definition. Okay, but their consensus definition on boredom is still in the works. They haven't come up with it yet, but we will. Just like the IPCC came up with a consensus that if the temperature rises 2 degrees over the next 100 years, that, basically the planet will vaporize itself. And they've come to a consensus on that based on no hard data whatsoever. But we have got to the point now where we have the public convinced that when the scientists come to a consensus, there's no room for debate, is there? So they're going to come to a consensus here, apparently, on boredom. In 2011, to accompany questionnaires designed to measure an individual boredom proneness, Eastwood's lab developed a test for boredom in the moment. That scale helped people provide scientific footing for experiments. For Eastwood, I was interested in trying to understand, is boredom different from depression? Or is it really, when it gets severe, just another name for depression? How does it overlap, or is it distinct from feeling that life is, not meaningful? In interviews with chronically depressed people, Eastwood and his colleagues found, and anecdotally, that boredom often triggers depressive thoughts. In a study published in 2003, another team found that cancer patients' depression could be ameliorated with medication, but boredom did not respond the same way. The particulars of how boredom causes or is correlated to depression are still muddy. They're not the same thing, but they're closely related. And understanding exactly how they're related is an interesting, unresolved question, Eastwood says. These people are getting paid for this. Understand that. And who's paying these people? You are. You're out there busting your ass, probably at a minimum or just above minimum wage job, trying to keep a freaking roof over your head and groceries in the fridge. And your so-called government has their hand ever deeper in your pocket to fund nonsense like boredom. Studies of boredom and depression have helped confirm a perhaps obvious truth. Boredom is not distributed evenly among us, really. Teenagers are more boredom-prone than adults. But why? Is it psychological? Because when they want to change life circumstance, they usually lack the means to do so. Or is it neurological? Because of the frontal lobes of the brain responsible for functions like impulse control and planning are the last to develop. Now that's amazing, because when I was at the high school in my little hometown, when I was asked to come and film our MPP, who was going to be supposedly at the high school, to schmooze the students on the importance of voting and the importance of politics and politicians. I talked to some students while I was waiting, all 17-year-olds, and I was thoroughly freaked out by these people at what they had no clue about, which was basically everything I talked to them about. Zero clue. But what disturbed me the most is when I was talking to them, they're all 17 years old, chronologically, but when I'm talking to them, I'm thinking I'm talking to a bunch of 10 and 12-year-olds here, is who I'm talking to. Back in the good old days, 14-year-old boys were already considered men. Now I'm talking to 17-year-olds, and it's like I'm talking to 10 and 12-year-olds. These ain't going to be men or women for a very long time. They're children, little children. And when I finally was talking to the teachers, I asked them what it was that they had done to these students. Because chronologically, I told them they're 17, but they have the capacity of 10 and 12-year-olds from the conversations I had with them anyways. And what do the teachers tell me? They go, "You don't understand, Ron." And I said, "But I do understand, but I like to hear it." And what did the teachers tell me? They're like this because their frontal lobes haven't fully formed yet. Say what? This is the kind of ridiculous mind manipulation that's going on in the schools. This is the kind of abuse that your children
Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower class and social slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air, fuck them.